Hey guys, it's Jouelzy and I am here with an astrologer. This is going to be a fun topic with Sam F. Reynolds. So we are going to answer some basic questions about the concept of astrology, how it actually applies, what's the science behind it, is it really a benefit, is it something to follow? And then we're also going to go over a little bit of my chart. So if you're an Aries with a Taurus moon and a Gemini rising, you might be in luck. So to get started, how did you end up in astrology?
By trying to disprove it. I actually got into it. I went to an astrologer, had an amazing reading, and I couldn't understand because I was an academic and more into like studies of race, gender, and class. So it was more the sociological approach, so I couldn't understand how astrology works. So I spent 10 years literally looking at charts and reading about it, trying to find out if there's some other kind of mechanism or other kind of thing that I missed in his reading, because he had such a perceptive reading of my life and my family and my chart that I thought it was a trick. Okay. And then this is the net result of my failure.
All right. So I met you you're the astrologer for ebony.com.
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of questions, people kind of don't believe in astrology, and I think that tends to come from the fact that a lot of us who do quote it, we tend to misquote it because we follow like the Cosmo version of astrology. Mm-hmm. So how did you come to realize that astrology was legitimate?
By doing a chart. I mean, a birth chart means that you have an actual time and place and date when you're born, and we can do a snapshot, just like we're doing a shot now of each other. We can do a snapshot of the heavens and get a picture from that about where the planets are, and from that crystallized moment we can understand what cycles and other aspects of your life could manifest.
You say to a person who says because of their faith, they feel like astrology is kind of paganism or it's a sin, essentially.
Yeah, that's a big concern. I actually have practiced two faiths. I'm a Muslim, but I was a Baptist minister who used to preach against astrology. And I can tell you that some of the fundamentals of these religions, for example, Christianity and Islam, are related to astrology, from how Muslims keep the lunar calendar and observe the actual passage of the moon in particular times, from the prayer times, how they change from day to day based on the position of the sun and particular time frames, which also seem to line up with a chart. And for Christians, the first people to find Jesus as the Christ were astrologers, the Magi. So I think it's rooted in the actual practice of the religions.
How does looking into your chart or astrology benefit you? And can you clarify the difference between what you do and what we might read in like Cosmo?
So because you have an actual birth time and a birthplace, we can look at specific cycles for when something is happening. So the immense benefit of getting a chart done, either by an astrologer or doing it online yourself, is that you can actually track your specific cycles and how they affect you in your life. You know, from the timing of understanding things, like for instance, Jouelzy is having a Saturn return, what that might mean for her as Jupiter is crossing a particular part of her chart or something like that. That's going to be specific also to you per your own chart. Oh, so what you read in Cosmo or ebony.com or mysign.com is kind of usually the Reader's Digest Express version of what we do. So when we're talking about a particular sign like Aries or Scorpio, we're talking in general about how particular planets and cycles are affecting people who have planets in those signs. So if you are born when your sun is in Aries, for example, then you are able to relate to some things like when Uranus is in Aries or Mercury goes into Libra. But the specific wins, hows, and how they might affect areas of your life, that's what you need a chart for.
So I used to read Susan Miller on the regular.
Yeah,
and
she's great.
I stopped reading her because I felt like maybe I was projecting a certain amount of what she was saying, specifically the negative parts, into my life. So I stopped reading. And I know a lot of people who have done that. They used to follow a certain person and felt like they were projecting what this person would say for their monthly forecast, and so they stopped following astrology.
One of the arguments that people have from faith who argue against astrology that I think is very valid is when you try to project something more than your relationship with God or your direct relationship with life. And if astrology gets too much about you attempting to control your future or project it, or you get too anxious about what someone else is saying, I think it's okay to back away. Because then it requires you focusing more on your relationship to your own life, your relationship to the divine, rather than just what you're observing in the heavens. It's kind of like getting too obedient to the clock. So let's say that, like right at 6 o'clock you're going to do such and such. You can't live life like that.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with how you're negotiating astrology.
Can you foretell the future?
I can see trends, I can predict particular likely events, but only God knows the future.
How do you feel about people that use astrology for compatibility?
I think it's a useful tool. I think the key thing is having as much information as you can. And that's relying more on charts than just signs. I know a lot of people get very much into saying, well, I'm a Taurus, and
I will never date a Pisces.
And I would never date a Pisces, or he's a Gemini, and I don't trust Geminis. That's the way to abuse astrology. Because what really is happening is like saying, like, oh, you're from Philly and I'm from New York, we can't work it out. And that's what I hear when someone says, like, well, I'm an Aries and he's a Taurus, are we compatible? That is your signs, and that's mainly just maybe even your sun sign, but it may not be the other important signs in your chart, like your moon sign and your rising sign. So real compatibility is twofold. One, knowing the sense of the chart, and two, figuring out how you better understand each other, not whether you can be together or not.
Cusp signs. Is there such a thing as a cusp, or are they really the split between two different signs?
The thing is, technically, there's no such thing as the cusp. And I am saying this as someone who's supposedly born on the cusp. My birthday is November 22nd. If I had been born 4 hours later, I would be a Sagittarius myself. But in technicalities, the sun is either in one sign or another based on the actual time of birth. So most people go by the cusp based on what they see in horoscope columns or what they imagine happens. But usually you're one sign or another. But you're not a blend of the two based just on your date of birth.
I got a ton of questions about career and finance, and people trying to map that out for the year, or they're like Pisces being stuck in their career right now, or people looking to transition in life. What is the benefit that astrology provides in trying to foretell? Or
again, the planet strikes some general notes that particular signs can follow. So for instance, I have found that over the last year, Leos have had a really hard time overall in kind of making progress with aspects of their lives. But Jupiter just went into Leo on July 16th, so this is a time to kind of be rewarded with boldness and kind of setting out to make something happen. So there's a similar thing that can happen for each sign, but the specificity of how that affects you as a person is always best drawn when you get a consultation with an astrologer. And for anyone who wants to get a consultation with me, they can reach me at unlockastrology, all one word, at gmail.com, or visit my site, unlockastrology.com, and I have information there and a little pop-up on how to book a session with me, or just email me and we'll talk about next steps.
So I guess we can get into my chart.
Okay. For most of my clients.
Okay.
I'm prepared to talk to you about some things from what we call your natal chart, and then I also am prepared to talk with you about what's happening over the next couple of years, and then what's happening over the next 6 months.
So I think the biggest question that I get with regards to my signs, people do not understand where my personality comes from. Like, why am I me? So are there things in my chart that suggest what my personality?
In terms of like the active engagement and the love of engaging people, in terms of like being out there and communicative, a lot of that is generated by your rising sign in Gemini, and that's a sign of Mercury. So Mercury is where we understand having a gift for gab and talking. What's also special about you in terms of that gift for gab and giving you an unusual perspective on things is that you were born on a day when Mercury was just starting to retrograde. And so when Mercury is retrograding, it means that somehow how you think, how you speak, how you connect with people is going to be in a different direction than the people around you. Eventually it becomes like one of your strengths because it's your chart ruler. And so it's something that you kind of grow more into. It's also in Aries, so it shares a lot of things with Venus and the Sun. Also, by virtue of being partnered with Venus, it's going to be very much interested in not only the self-expression, but how you relate to others and talking with others and connecting others. And then also their sense of achievement, because Aries is about how you kind of get out there as yourself and taking things and being in charge. The one other thing I would say about your personality that others may not see, especially with the moon in Taurus, is not only how you enjoy life and have like a strong sense and appreciation for things, not just like any kind of chocolate, but like Lindt chocolate, you know, the exquisite aspects of life.
I don't like chocolate. I only eat white chocolate.
Oh, okay.
I like a very specific
particular,
type
yes,
of chocolate.
Very particular. But the other thing that's important to know about this, and especially with you, you know, you are a writer, you are a communicator, but there's also a strong business sensibility that you have with that moon in Taurus that anchors you, because you want to know where your money is coming from and what's happening with the next check. That's very important as an entrepreneur, because if you ever get in this mindset like, oh, I'm just going to wing it and not worry about where my money is coming from, that moon in Taurus is going to get really upset. The rising sign dictates how you're going to live the life out, you know, not in terms of all the wins and wheres and everything, but what becomes the focus and the manifestation of the intention you have. I usually say it's the route by which you take to fulfill a life intention. Let's say that you're going to the store to get some milk, and there's a vehicle by which you get in the store to get the milk, and then there's the route by which you go there. So the sun sign is the intention, the moon is the vehicle by which you take the journey, but the rising sign is the route
you take. That's a very interesting analogy. I feel like that's in one of your story 5s.
Yes.
I've read all of them.
Yeah, yes. Well done. The strong indicators to kind of look out for, especially as you go toward the beginning of next year, is that there's some significant opportunity that comes on the table for you that opens things up for you. And when I say open things up for you, it's kind of like, you know, something that you've been wanting. It's called the thank you Lord aspect, because it's some measure of relief that you can enjoy. You know, you're having your Saturn return. I guess we can end on that note. So the Saturn return literally means like when Saturn's coming back to its original position when you were born. Time for you to start beginning to step into the role for which society or life is prepared for you. So not only are you moving literally, but you're also about to make moves that help you fulfill your role in life.
So, anything for love? Am I gonna find a tall, 6 foot, dark skin, full hairline, all his teeth, job, no kids?
Those are not things I can see.
Credit.
I don't necessarily see, you know, all the lineup for how the person may appear, but in terms of triggers for romance, I think it's more where I see something on the radar for romance for you is in September. So that kind of goes along. The other big news over the next couple of years is that you are going to see some changes in your love life, because Venus, by a way we call progression, is about to also go direct. So that usually is going to go along the lines of improving, you know, when things have not been moving forward enough, or
I'm not a big dater. I don't like.
Well, something may
people.
still be. I know, but something still may be coming for you.
Oh, is there a sign that I'm compatible with?
What I would say for you is that, you know, you could deal maybe more with some of the, you know, one earth sign, Capricorn.
I love Capricorns. I was so scared you were gonna say Pisces.
No, someone with strong Capricorn, either the sun, moon, or the rising in Capricorn. Notice how I said that, because I don't want you just to go out and be like, oh, you're January 5th? Okay, we can do, because that's not, again, how it really works. It might be that, you know, it could be a Libra with a moon in Capricorn, and that might be like the thing that really...
You don't like Libras.
Really strong sign for you. Do you relate well to Geminis?
Geminis don't give me I think we mutually don't get each other the time of day.
Okay, maybe once you get beyond your 30s, you might have develop a different relationship with Geminis.
This has been very interesting. I am going to read over it some more. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
If any of you guys would like to book a consultation with him, he does it via Skype or in person. He is located in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. But if you are somewhere out in the Netherlands, he can do it over Skype with you. So all the details will be down below. I definitely think if you're kind of a little bit more quizzical and you don't trust it, yet, you can check out his website, unlockastrology.com.
Yes.
His story fives have been great because they're very concise and compact. So I know sometimes reading about astrology can give you a very, it can fatigue you.
Right.
As you would say.
Mm-hmm.
But I will have all the details down below. Leave your questions. What do you think about astrology? Has it ever benefited you in your life? And definitely check out Sam Reynolds. Thanks for watching. You have any ending words?
No, thank you.
All right, bye guys.